All right, we're here with Nathan Smith, the ride truck driver of the Raminator monster truck. Let us know something that people may not know about.
So, two things that a lot of people may not know about me is I'm actually just got into being one of the helpful devs on the BeamNG mod side of things. So, when you see resized chassis and all the different stuff comes out of the BeamNG monster truck stuff, I'm one of the guys helping out with future chassis and future updates coming out, as well as you see me at a show and I'm usually carrying out a box that's usually got a custom die cast in it, and I hand paint them and take them apart and make them to as accurate to one of these guys as you can see probably out there in the customizing world.
Here we go. All right, we're here with Tim Hall, one half of Hall Brothers Racing, Hall of Famer, a legend. But
Well, I don't know about that.
people may not know that, especially on behind your left shoulder, is an Illinois University flag, and people may not know that you're a graduate from the U of I, University of Illinois, and you had a bachelor's in science. And it's kind of neat. You have the flag behind you, but also your girl right behind you also. So with that, learning the degree that you have, what did you use that education to apply in the monster trucks?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I went to the University of Illinois mostly for economics because it's right down the road. For economic reasons, I should say, because it's right down the road here. It's right here in Champaign. That's pretty cool. And it was a great, major Big Ten university with a great agriculture program. My degree, I went through the ag engineering program and the ag mech department, and when I saw that program, I thought it was pretty cool because it had a lot of business elements and a lot of practical elements too. And a lot of projects that we got to work on back then were really neat in the facility. It was brand new. They just put up a brand new building, and it was really cool to get to go through the university at that time. But I do remember sitting in like a physics lecture or some of these lectures somewhere along the way, thinking, gosh, what am I ever going to do with this? And I'll be darned if here we are all these years later and I almost use a lot of that stuff every day. So it really did. It was a very well-rounded program for me and very helpful, and taught me a lot about the elements of doing business and working like we do now with Chrysler. That's been invaluable. And then also the practical stuff, the math and all of that stuff that it taught me, from to build the trucks and a lot of engine, power and machinery stuff that we did that taught me about engines and things along those lines. And now I build all the engines for these with Curtis, and all that stuff was really good information. So it was a good program, and I'm glad I went. And I'm glad I got to do, with my career, what I get to do, because it's been very rewarding.
All right. So one thing people may not know about Mark Hall, the driver of the Raminator monster truck from Hall Brothers Racing, is he was a BMX rider when he was younger, and that's pretty cool knowledge about that, because there's other people in the industry that came from BMX and stuff like that. But with you and your legendary career, what was two takeaways that you learned from BMX to apply in Monster?
Probably the two biggest takeaways that I took from BMX that sort of still apply in the monster truck world for me was one, gearing. I never really, when I raced BMX when I was 13 till I was 18. And when I was 13 years old, I didn't realize how big of a deal gearing played. But my dad was huge in that, and he was big in that. And so he had a whole toolbox full of sprockets, and we would constantly change gearing based on the track that we were at. And I mean, it was so much. He was so. My dad was. He was probably more so competitive than I am, if you could believe that. I like to think I'm pretty competitive, but Dad was even more so. He was super competitive. But anyway, based on the track that we were at, he would look at the length of it, and then he would make a gearing change, and I'd go out and make a run, and or make a lap and then come back. And if he thought we could do a little bit better, he would change gears until we found something that we both liked. And I never, as my BMX career evolved, then I realized how big a deal that was. But I never realized how big of a deal gearing was. And so, that applies in the monster truck world. And I'm still, even after all these years, I still learn about gearing. And for whatever reason, I think it's pretty cool. But for example, a speed run. When we made our world record speed run, gearing was a huge deal. That was the only change that we made, and so that was a big deal. So that was one big thing. And then probably something else from the BMX world that I carried over, and again, this was from Dad, was preparing. He was huge on preparing. Basically, if we didn't have our act together, then we weren't going to mess with it. I mean, you had to have your head straight, you had to be prepared, and that's just the way we always did it. And I think that we carry that over to the monster truck world too. And that's why when we get to an event, we don't work on our stuff. When we unload, we're ready to go. We don't have to do a whole. We put our tires on and we're ready. And a lot of that is our team. I'd like to think I have a great team behind me, and so they prepare the stuff at the shop. So when we get to the track, we unload, we're good to go. And I think that's a big deal that I learned that from my dad. Like when we got to the BMX track, we were ready to go. I had the right mindset, and we were ready to go, and so we got after it. And so those are probably two of the biggest things that I took away from BMX that I still kind of apply to the monster truck world even today.